Hi, I'm Jake, and welcome to the newest podcast on YouTube called Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, where I interview people involved with big shows and more from our childhoods. We'll be sharing our favorite memories, talk behind-the-scenes moments, and so much more. I'm your host, Jake Deffinbaugh, and welcome to this Happy Nostalgia Show episode.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show. I'm your host Jake, and our co-host Chris Bixby, Matthew Johnson, and his second appearance of the show as a co-host in this episode, Wyatt McCullough. How are you three?
Good. Happy to be here again.
Very awesome. So, before we're going to, the guests we're having this episode, is that thank you all so much with the support we're having, especially that we're almost to these subs, and as well as especially for Spotify viewers. And yes, if you guys don't know, if you guys are new to this podcast, it's basically this podcast, nostalgia moments from our childhood, and we have Mixcloud, Spotify, and of course YouTube channel for you can stream on that too. And as well as if you're new to this, if you guys want support, and follow us on social media or this podcast, you can check the description, and as well as of course subscribe to our YouTube channel, which we appreciate the support that we're getting. And the fifth episode, it's really amazing that we're having this journey so far, and
we got more amazing guests coming up.
Yeah, I'm really blessed for having this possible and get this much episodes as well, which is really crazy. So anyway, this guest we're having today is, okay, I think he's probably very known, but I'm going to say this, of course. He's more known by being the host of BrainSurge. He was the host of the modern version of Figure It Out. He was a part, according
It was
to
also, hold on, before BrainSurge, also on Nickelodeon, he was a part of You Pick Live.
Yeah,
which is a very popular thing that was on Nickelodeon back then.
Yeah.
So he's been on Nickelodeon for a long time.
Yep, and also Chris and Wyatt, or Chris, that you want to get into later, which I know you will, Chris. That he was also a host a show that wasn't really lasted long, which is called 101 Ways to Leave a Game Show. And I know before himself as a game show host, he was a part of MTV for his entertainment career, that for him being Nickelodeon. And I'm thinking at this stage, he's now in production. He's a part of a show called Wyatt's Mystery Playdate. And here he is. And I have to say this reference. Welcome to BrainSurge, the only game show we anything to win.
That's perfect.
Jeff Sutphen.
That might be the best intro I've had in a long time. I feel like I need to. I feel like you need to say it again, and I can run out and be like, "Yeah!" And there's only one way out of here. That's down
On the brain train. Oh,
that was a VIP thing. Nobody else got that.
You want to know something? All right, so we would shoot. That was the BrainSurge. We would shoot 5 episodes a day when we shot BrainSurge.
Wow.
The hardest part of that show for me was doing everybody's name, because right at the top, you'd be like, "Hey, let's meet today's Brainiacs," and I'd go into it, and what you'd see is, like, as the camera cut off me to start focusing in on the contestants as I ran, I had cards in my back pocket, and I'd pull out the cards that had their names on them, and I'd be like, "Hey, this guy's from blah blah blah. He loves bike riding."
I think you have to say it super quickly.
Yeah, and so I had a short period of time, but one of the things that I am absolutely awful at, is pronouncing people's names. And so I would mispronounce people's names like left and right. And it's also the thing that's most important to me, because I want to make sure I'm getting their names right. I mean, it's their name, for crying out loud. They're coming out of a TV show. Right. It's a big moment for them. It's a big moment for me. I'm psyched to have them here. And then I mispronounce their name. So almost every single time I'd mispronounce someone's name, and they'd go, "Okay, we got to do it again." And so I would go through and do all the pickups. But it was funny. And so in one of the last episodes, I think it was like season 2, my good friend Tim, who is a supervising producer on the show, he was like my right-hand man. So he always gave me like we would go through everything between every show. Like, here's the puzzles you're gonna do, here's the games, here's the story. He'd give me the name, the cards with the contestants' names on them, so I could go through them all. And we'd write little jokes and all that stuff. He hands me, literally, they're doing the countdown. I'm backstage, everyone's screaming, the lights are flashing, the announcer is doing the intro that you just gave me, and he goes, "There's been a quick change. There's a new family." It was Family Adventure, so it was season 3. And he hands me this card with these names that are like a country mile. Like, these names are so long, and I'm just like, and they're like, "Now here's your host, Jeff Sutphen." I'm reading this card, I'm like, they're yelling at me. All the like directors and everything, they're in my earpiece. They're like, "Get out there, Jeff! Go! You gotta go! We can't go into overtime." And I'm like, "No, there's no way these are real. There's no way." I'm in a sweat at this point. I mean, literally, sweat is pouring down my head because I'm so nervous about these new names. And they're like, "Go, go, go!" And I literally just laid down on the floor in the backstage. And I was like, "I'm not going out," because I want to meet this family. And of course, it was everybody playing a joke on me. They were trying to get me to go out.
I was about to say, it's got to be some kind of studio joke or something.
Yeah.
And they were trying to get me to do it and say and stutter and stammer through all these, knowing that was my weak point. But the moral to this story is, I said, I'm not going out until I meet this family, because I need to see this family. There's no way these names are real. And they finally said, "Oh, okay, yeah, it's fake." And they gave me the old card back. And then they said, "Action." I ran out there. I nailed it. I said maybe in the first time in BrainSurge history, I said everybody's name correctly and nailed it. And they said, "We got to go again," because I was sweating so bad.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, "You got to be kidding me."
Oh, man.
Oh man. So
And you guys had famous families on there too. For example, Larry King was on there.
Yeah. Larry
We got a
King
bunch
was
of Nickelodeon stars on there too. So
why don't you Big Time
We would
Rush? One of them, since
Big
not
Time
being
Rush.
Big Time Rush.
are into them.
iCarly.
They were always fun to have on. And even when we when we had Larry King on, that was one of those ones where I was like, wow, this is either going to be the best idea of all time or the worst idea of all time, because obviously he's not our demographic. But the funny part, he was standing, so I used to stand on the corner of the stage there, and he was like the first podium to my right. And so at the end of round 1, all right, the 4 families are going to move on to round 2. The rest of you are going down the brain drain. Let's find out who they are. I announced family 1, family 2, family 3, and now we have that cliffhanger moment. Okay, only one more family. 3 families left. Only one more can move on to the second round. Let's find out who it is with X amount of points. It's blank. And so Larry King and his son got eliminated. And I actually heard Larry King say under his breath, "I came all the way down here for that." He goes, "That's it? I came all the way down here for that?" I was like, well, maybe if you answered some questions right, you would be moving on to round 2. But rest in peace, Larry.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Oof.
Yeah.
Pray for him. Pray for him especially. So, I know the BrainSurge sets for the season 1 and 2, were very changed.
Yes.
What was that from that?
Yeah, what was that like?
I think I liked it because for me, every season that I don't care whether it's a show I'm producing or a show I'm hosting, I always feel like you need to always take it to the next level and make sure you're always doing something bigger and better. So I think for me, visually, just right out of the bat, visually changing the scenery was great. It really brought a completely different look and feel to the show, while still keeping the nuts and bolts of the show the same, which is why it was successful. Everyone liked that format and those games. So it was really, really awesome to, come in and make it feel bigger and grander. And even going into season 3, we continued to change it up as well.
That's awesome.
Wow. Yeah, that's really awesome. So,
GPS question.
Yeah. So of course. Yeah. So, I know the brain drain, of course, especially if season 1, because I know it's all the way down, but season 2 is changed where you can actually go down and then you high five the audience members.
Yeah.
That's really changed that I that I know of that's changed from every single season.
Yeah, we made the brain drain. The first season of that exit sign right there was the exit sign over top of the brain drain.
Oh my gosh.
That's
Oh, wow.
Oh, you got to
That's
keep that.
awesome.
Wow.
Really cool.
Well, I didn't get
Well,
to keep
really
it.
worth it to have it,
Yeah.
nostalgia research for him.
Yeah, the first brain drain was a little shorter, and it was like really hard corners. So like you'd go down and be like, wham, you get worked pretty bad. So the second season we did make it a little longer, and it was smoother turns. Yeah, I went down it pretty much every day after work. So we'd shoot every day.
Because it was fun.
Just for fun.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, like, why wouldn't
It's
you?
really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Did
Did anyone ever
and
get
that's-
injured? Did anyone ever get injured going down the brain drain?
Yeah.
No one ever got injured. No. Which is one of the reasons we didn't send Larry King down the brain drain.
Because I saw didn't you like send his
wife went down.
His wife went down.
His wife and his kid went down.
I think so. Or I know his son definitely went down. He stayed at the bottom. Because like I said, the last thing you wanted to do was have Larry King break a hip on your show. So it was, we wanted to be careful. No one ever got hurt. There was, exactly. Everyone always says safe. And that's the big thing is like, when you're on a Nickelodeon show, whether it's Kids' Choice Awards or whatever it is, whenever you're dropping slime is very, very, very slippery. So we always have like a good team of people that make sure that everyone's being safe. So like after you get slimed, don't move because it's so slippery. So then we would have people come in and like lay towels down, then you'd walk across the towels, and then you get to a place where we could kind of clean you up a little bit. So you have kind of like almost like a slime team that deals with the actual slime preparation, the transport, the delivery of it, how you get it, how you as well, because it gets everywhere. And like I said, when you shoot 5 shows a day, you need to be able to clean everything up and make it look, brand spanking new every time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I know the brain drain actually has the like soap or something on it. So don't open your eyes, kids, because
you revealed that in behind the scenes today.
Yeah. It was some sort of like orange type soap too, because like as soon as they start spraying it, everything smelled like oranges, which was great. I love the smell of oranges. So it had a nice orangey smell. Yeah. And then it would foam up, and then they come flying down it, and we'd the sprayers were really loud though. So we would start it, get it all foamy, and then say, okay, send them down 1, 2, 3, and then if we had to foam it back up again to send more people, we would.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Jake.
Of course, Chris.
So out of all since we were talking about a little bit about celebrity guests, like who are some of your favorites that you had?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when we did some WWE superstars, and those guys are always awesome. Anthony Anderson, I think, was one of my favorites. He's always a really cool guy. He was on the episode with Larry King, and he's just a big personality and really fun and rolls with the punches. So we had done a few shoots together at like Kids' Choice or something in the past. I'm not saying we're best friends or anything like that, but it was like he had remembered who I was. I think he came on UPick, and so he had remembered who I was. And, so it was one of those things where there was a little bit of a relationship there that we could play, so it was very playful. And I'm always a big fan of those guests. Anyone who comes onto a Nickelodeon show and is just, if you come on a Nickelodeon show, you have to say, I'm up for whatever. I'm ready to have a good time. I'm ready to get messy, and hey, anything goes. And that's really kind of how he approached it, which is why he's one of my favorite guests on BrainSurge.
Wow.
Nice.
Especially the voice of SpongeBob himself, Tom Kenny was a guest on that too.
Tom Kenny is maybe one of my favorite people of all time. He is, you're hard pressed to find a nicer guy. He is just absolutely amazing. He is a scary talent, first of all. I mean, he's just really funny and really quick and sharp. But take all of that aside, he's just a really nice person. He always makes time for me. You know, I'll call him or text him to be like, "Hey, I got a question for you," and he's quick to respond. Just he's an awesome guy. One funny story about when he came on BrainSurge.
Yeah.
So we do the episode. He ends up getting slimed with the kid at the end, and we all three of us get messy. And he goes, "That was the first time I ever got slimed." And I was like, "In all your years of Nickelodeon, that was the first time?" He goes, "Yeah." He says, I wish
crazy.
someone. He goes, "I wish someone would have told me. I would have brought a change of clothes." And I'm like, "Wait, hold on. No one told you that there was a possibility you were going to get messy?" He goes, "No." He's like, "It's totally cool. I'm fine. This is great." And he was loving it. I was like, "All right, well, okay, come back to the dressing rooms with me. We got some clothes back here you can take." So we go back there. I talk to the wardrobe person. They're like, "Oh, here's some sweatpants." I'm like, "Hey, do you want a shirt? We can give you, one of these." And he goes, "Oh no, I'm fine. Like I only got, that's fine. I'll just change pants." So he puts on a pair of sweatpants. I'm walking him out into the parking lot to his car. And I'm like, "Hey, Tom, thanks for coming. It really means a lot to me." He's like, "Oh, no problem. I had a great time." And as he's getting into his car, he goes, "Oh, hey, Jeff, by the way, who do I get these sweatpants back to?" And I was like, "It's okay, Tom. You can keep the sweatpants. They probably cost us $3 at Target. But that's the kind of guy Tom is. He doesn't take anything for granted. It was one of those things like he was just like, "Hey, I know you were kind enough to give me these sweatpants. I want to make sure they get back to somebody." And I was like, no, they're all fine.
Just that he's been able to do SpongeBob for so many years since like the late '90s to now, and he's still doing it. So,
and he did the voice for you guys too.
Oh yeah, no, he's the guy. The guy is a legend. And like I said, take all of that away, and he is the nicest guy going. And it's funny, like anybody I talk to, like at Nickelodeon that's worked with him, or anybody that knows him, immediately the very first words out of anybody's mouth when you talk about Tom Kenny is, "He's the nicest guy in the world." And I think that speaks volumes that everybody says that about him.
Very awesome. So since we're talking about a little bit of BrainSurge, let's just go all the way back, if you know what I mean.
Let's do it.
So how do you start being an actor and a game show host later on? How did all that happen for you?
It's funny, Jake. I mean, like I never set out to say, "Hey, I'm going to become a game show host." That was never in the cards. It was just one of these things that through a series of happy accidents, I ended up in front of the camera. So, as Chris mentioned, I started on You Pick Live, and I was a producer on You Pick Live. And when that was starting, they said, "Hey, do you want to dress up like a superhero and pick kids to give out prizes?" And I was like, "Absolutely. I'm totally comfortable in a full body leotard. What guy growing up doesn't want to be a superhero?" And so I was producing, and then on the show I would play Pick Boy, and it just, Pick Boy ended up kind of getting its own rhythm and its own thing. And one thing led to the next. And then a bunch of years later, they asked me, "Hey, do you want to come audition for BrainSurge?" And I did 3 auditions for it, and that's kind of how I ended up becoming the host of BrainSurge. And then BrainSurge led to 101 Ways to Leave a Game Show, and then that led to Figure It Out. And it was just one of those things. Like I said, it was never, like you said, actor. I don't consider myself an actor. I'm not an actor. I can't act my way out of a paper bag. I'm a host. I do Jeff Sutphen very well. And that's really kind of the strength and what I positioned my career on, which was, when people would ask me like, "Hey, what can we expect as you as a host?" I was like, "You can expect this. The conversation we're having now is us. This is me. This is how I host. I don't put on anything different. I don't know how to be an actor. I know how to be Jeff." So that's what you get. And that's kind of really what I built my career on.
Yeah, that's really awesome. So Chris, I know there's a question you wanted to say, or a couple things you want to say to Jeff before even started.
Oh yeah, I was telling these guys about it earlier. I remember like when BrainSurge had just started, I wanted to be on it so badly, but I think at the time I was too young. I think I probably was only 8 or 9 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I remember
it's one
going
of
on
those.
the Nick website and they had something like, or if you wanted to be on BrainSurge, click here. I was
Yeah,
just
I grew up watching Double Dare and Mark Summers, and I felt the same way. Like I'd watch Double Dare and go, "Oh man, I would kill to be on the show. I'd love to be on the show." So I get it, and it's funny. Like even a few years back, I went to get ice cream at a local ice cream place here, and I walked in and I ordered like a milkshake or something, and the kid behind the counter ringing me up goes, "Hey, weren't you the host of BrainSurge?" I was like, "Yeah," and he like pulls out his phone, he like looks through, he goes, "Hey, look," and he was a contestant on BrainSurge, and it was like, oh my gosh, like that's crazy, So like running in years later, running into contestants, so it's like this stuff, talking to you guys is awesome because it's like, I get to, actually communicate and chat with, fans, and you guys grew up watching the stuff I was doing, which, I was having a fun time doing it, but, being able to talk to you guys and that's what's awesome for me.
Yeah.
And you actually had a contestant who later went on to a non-successful show, wasn't that right, Chris? Make It Pop.
Make It Pop.
Megan.
Oh,
Make It
Megan,
Pop or
yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, well, one of the contestants, I think it might have been on like one of the first few episodes, went on to like actually star in a Nickelodeon show later on.
I didn't know that.
It was called Make It Pop, I believe.
So
that was on Nick.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I'll have to look that up.
Oh, wow.
Were any of your game shows filmed at the Nickelodeon Studios and Universal Studios, or were none of your game shows filmed there?
No. By the time I was shooting my game shows, Nick Orlando had closed. However, when we were doing You Pick Live, we would go down to Nick Orlando a few times. That Slime Time Live was shooting at the same time, so we would go down and do like crossover specials and stuff. So I had shot at Nick Orlando before they closed it, and then when I did My Family's Got Guts, which I was a producer on,
That awesome.
Yeah, that was fun. And they had we shot in Universal Orlando, but like at that point, the old Nick studios were closed. So I have spent my time in Orlando. Not as much as some of the old Nick cast, but yeah, we did BrainSurge. We shot on what was called at the time Hollywood Center Studios, which is now Sunset Las Palmas. And then Figure It Out, we shot on the Paramount lot, which was awesome.
Is the set still there, or is it gone?
The sets are gone. No, they in between seasons, they'll hold all the set stuff in storage, and then when it's decided that the show isn't coming back, they ditch it. They get rid of all of it.
They destroy it?
Wow.
Yeah, which is how I ended up with this Figure It Out podium. So this was the
Oh, wow.
This was the podium that Elle, our announcer, would use. Because I was behind the desk with the contestant and she was across the stage. This was her podium. So it was funny. I was after we shot the second season of Figure It Out, some time had passed, and one of my buddies who manages all the stages and shows at Nick, he calls me up. We're good friends, and he says, "Hey, we're about to get rid of everything from the Figure It Out set. You want anything?" And I was like, "Huh?" And he goes, "Oh, no one called to tell you the show's been canceled, have they?" And I was like, "No." And he goes, "Oh, sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but the show has been canceled. Do you want anything from the show?" So I was like, yeah. So I ended up at what I originally had was, I don't know if you remember, the Figure It Out set had those giant arrows, those big, huge arrows.
Yes.
So
I
had one of those, and so my neighbor came over, and those things weighed a ton because it was all steel piping that was welded together with lucite, and and all was backlit with all the lights. And so I had a neighbor come over, and we were cutting it down to make it lighter, and we were rewiring it all so we could plug it in and it would glow. And we'd spent the whole afternoon doing it, and we're literally hanging it up on my ceiling in the garage. As my wife walks out the door and goes, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, oh, I got this from the set figured out. She goes, no, that's not safe. I don't want it in here. So I had to give it away. And then she went and talked to my friend and got me the figured out podium because she felt bad.
So where'd you give it away to? Do you know?
Yes, a good friend of mine, his name is Bob Bowden. He is referred to around the business as Game Show Bob because he knows everything about game shows and he's worked on just about every game show you can possibly imagine. And he has a collection of game show memorabilia. So I called. And
that was added to it, wasn't it?
It was. I said, hey, Bob, I got this thing. And before I could hang up the call, he pulled his car around and we were loading it in his trunk. But he's got like a whole museum of game show stuff from like Price is Right, Wheel of Fortune. I mean, you name the game show, he's got something from it. So
that's awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah. So how's your experience for being a part of like being in MTV for your early days, well before you're on Nickelodeon?
Good. For me, I knew from a young age that I wanted to work in TV. So I started, in going to college, I took television classes and I learned everything. And so I actually came out of school and I thought I was going to be an editor. That was what I wanted to do. I loved editing. I was editing all my own stuff in college and I really enjoyed that creation of putting everything together. So I started at VH1. I got a job at VH1 and I was working just as a PA on a show. And that kind of, one thing led to another. I kept kind of jumped around at the MTV networks on a few different VH1 projects, worked in on-air graphics for quite a while. Then I left the company, came back, did an MTV show. That finished up, and that's when I ended up at Nickelodeon. MTV, VH1, Nickelodeon, it's all under MTV Networks Viacom umbrella. So it's, you kind of just jump around.
I didn't know Viacom was connected to MTV.
Yeah,
me too.
Yeah, they own Comedy Central, BET, MTV, VH1, Nickelodeon, a bunch of other networks, Spike. So that was always my thing. I loved the the producerial side of things, and that was what I was doing. And that's why I say like the on camera thing was a happy accident. I always loved doing that, but it was for me. I kind of looked at it as going that the hosting side, the on camera side is so hard. For that one job in front of the camera, there's 70 jobs behind the camera. And I'm more apt to get one of those 70 than I am to get that one. So I always kind of put all my eggs in the production basket. And when I started getting hosting jobs, I kind of shifted my focus a little to just go, okay, I'll put more energy into, now that I have some momentum, I'll put the energy into trying to find some hosting jobs. And even when I was hosting, I was still producing stuff on the side. As BrainSurge, I was a producer on BrainSurge as well. And even in between shows, I'd pick up little production gigs to, keep the muscles in shape, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. So, I know a question that you wanted to say to Jeff as well, Chris, about a game show.
So we talked a little bit about it earlier. What was it like working on 101 Ways to Leave a Game Show?
Dude, working on 101 Ways to Leave a Game Show was fantastic. It was like a once in a lifetime experience. So all the producers from that were all the same team that put together Fear Factor back in the day, and they do Wipeout. So
Wipeout?
It was one of these,
really?
Yeah. So these guys are
so
really
crazy.
good at what they do, and I felt like I was being welcomed into their party because, like I said, it's all the same guys: camera guys, audio guys, producers. Like it's literally, we would shoot 101 Ways to Leave a Game Show on Mondays and Tuesdays, and then Wednesday and Thursday they would be on the Wipeout set, and then Friday so it was one of these things.
That's so cool.
They would flip flop back and forth, and they're
cool.
They are so good at what they do, and it was awesome to be part of that experience. I learned a ton. And it was just, I mean, honestly, like showing up to the office was, you know, every day I was like, oh, what are we going to do today? Oh, we're going to blow up a truck while sending it over a cliff. Great.
I never
I
watched
don't know
that
how-
show, so it
yeah.
seems
I don't know how you're gonna. Yeah, I don't know how you're gonna do that, but I'm sure it's
Yeah, a
safe.
lot of crazy stuff went on.
Yeah, it was-
Why
I'll have
not
to give
such
it a
an
watch.
amazing show, and for have all those same people for that for one receive gay show, that is so
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. And honestly, in full disclosure, and I'm not sure I've ever shared too much of it, but like there's, you know, people would always ask me like, hey, did you get nervous, or did you ever get nervous? And my answer was always no. I mean, it was, especially like doing You Pick Live, it was like we'd do that every day. So my feeling on it was like, oh man, if I screw up today, I can always do it again tomorrow. And you know, with doing BrainSurge and Figure It Out, like I never was nervous because I was just like, oh, I'm just having fun. And as long as I knew the show, I knew I could get us through it. 101 Ways was the only time in my career where I got nervous. And I remember standing there like on the first day, and I looked around, I was like, all right, there's a monster truck over there. I'm standing on the dock. There's a lake behind me.
Oh dear.
There's a jet boat out there, and there's 2 helicopters that are circling to get like helicopter shots. And I'm like, oh man, this is a lot bigger than anything I've ever done in my life. Like this is huge. And I'm looking around going, holy crap, all of this is on my shoulders. And where I never thought about that before. I always would just like walk in and be like, hey, welcome to the show. Here we go. Brain drain, slime. And now all of a sudden it was like, oh man, there's millions of dollars riding on this. And I was like, oh man, I hope I don't screw this up. And, you know, again, like all the people around me, they all knew each other. They all knew each other by
And they
name,
all knew what they
like-
were doing.
And they all knew what they were
Yeah.
doing. And not that I didn't know what I was doing, but it was one of those things where
But you were out of your comfort zone a little bit, probably.
it was the first time I was doing like something, you know, big, and it was network prime time, hour-long format. And it was like, holy mackerel, they're taking a big risk on me and they're putting a lot on my shoulders. And then, you know, the executive producer came up to me and he puts his hand on my shoulder. And this is right before we're about to take the first shot. He puts his hand on my shoulder and he just looks me square in the eye and goes, hey, don't f this up. I got a lot riding on it. And I was like, that wasn't the pep talk I needed at that moment.
Right.
So, you know, he walked away, but it was one of those things, you know, the stage manager started counting me in. He's like 3, 2. And as soon as he pointed to me, everything went away. And I was like, I had to remember, like, as he was counting me in, I was like, pull yourself together. They hired you because of what you do. Trust your instincts and be yourself. And that's what, again, as I mentioned, that's how I built my career, was being myself. So I was like, don't overthink this. As soon as they say go, do what you would normally do. And so that was it. So for like a good 2 minutes, I was like, oh boy, this is big. I'm out of my league. I'm going to get figured out that I'm a fake. And as soon as they said action, I was like, hey, here we go. You know, everyone, how you doing? Blah, 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 blah. And it was fine.
Awesome.
And, you know, it's disappointing that we only did the 6 episodes. I really do believe that if we got picked up for another 6 episodes to finish out, like, you know, like a back end of the season type thing, I do believe that show would have found its audience and it really would have connected, and we would have.
You know why it was canceled after such a short runtime?
Yeah, so it was brought on, you know, it was ordered as a mid-season replacement. They said, hey, we're going to do 6 episodes. And, you know, if it does well, we'll obviously pick up more and do back, you know, some more into the fall. It was one at the time it pretty much did exactly what ABC wanted to do. It didn't rate like really high and it didn't rate really low. It rated right down the middle of the road, which is, you know, when we asked them like, hey, before this airs, what are your expectations? They were like, hey, we think, you know, if it can be here, great. Anything above that's bonus. You know, we don't want it to be below. And it did. It did exactly right down the middle. And then they got to a point where they had to make decisions of like what shows to bring back and what shows, you know, hey, we're going to move forward on.
Well, it was probably a bunch of, it was probably very costly too.
Well, and that
Yeah.
was that was a big part of it. They looked at it and said, hey, for the price point and the ratings, they aren't necessarily matching up for us. And you know, we were going to go in and pitch, you know, what a second run would look like in terms of like, hey, here are some new challenges, games, and ways we can bring costs down and elevate. But at that point, they had made their decision. Now, the sad thing is the following summer, I went into ABC and was talking to some of the executives, and I was pitching them another show. And the executive said to me, she says, oh man, I really wish, because that following summer they got killed in the ratings. And they said, man, if we knew what the ratings were going to be this summer, we wouldn't have never canceled 101 Ways to Leave a Game Show. We would, because that would have killed in the ratings for us, which is sad, you know, to hear that, like, hey, it could have, you know, because it just firmly confirms for me that had we hung on for a little bit longer,
y'all would have been more successful, and maybe even gotten a second, and maybe even gotten past after the first season, gotten a second season. So
Yeah. It could have been like a really long running show.
But you know,
like BrainSurge too.
Yeah, exactly. I'm grateful for it. I got. Hold on, I'll show you this. This was. Oh God, it's.
You can also show them the figure out podium too, since you mentioned it so much. Too.
This
fun fact.
This was the trigger from the tower at 101 Ways. Remember?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Drop people off. So this is the actual.
How were you able to get that?
The tower is in my backyard. So.
Oh, it is.
Oh
No,
wow.
That'd be so funny if you actually do.
Yeah,
Next
that'd
one
be
is the game show. If that's from your
You know,
backyard.
Crazy.
They told me I
tried
could keep a souvenir, and I got got the tower.
Like I can imagine, like someone just like drives by and they see this like big tower out of the thing.
Can we play on that?
And me
Yeah,
dropping people off it, like boom, boom.
I mean,
yeah.
you could get you could like charge people to do that. Just like, it's like an amusement park ride.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got, like I said, I got a few things back here. You know, those are some of the 101, you know, banners and stickers there. That's the BrainSurge. Yeah.
Yep.
This was the figured out sign that was hanging like backstage where we would do like little online stuff. This is a piece from Kids Choice 2011.
Which is a decade ago.
Yeah, you know, I got
2010,
2010, 2012. These, if we're talking Kids Choice, these are all the badges for all the years I did Kids Choice. So like there's, you know, all the way back to 2003.
There's Pick Boy from You Pick Live.
2003 to what?
Yeah.
Pick Boy for President. That was 2004.
Yeah. Wait, what was the last batch? Is it? I know it's your first one. All the way was 2003. And what was the last all the way bomb?
Oh, at Kids Choice.
Yeah.
I did 2003, and the last one there is 2017.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I did. I think like all told, I would do the pre-show.
Yeah.
The backstage show and the post show. I think I did the pre-show
So much.
11 years. I think I did it 10 years straight. Then they took a year off from me and brought me back for a 12th and I think 11th and 12th. I think I did two years after. So I think I did a total of 12 years of Kids Choice Awards.
Wow, that's really awesome. Kids Choice Awards one of the few things that I really liked.
Yeah, so I've been watching it ever since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
Kids Choice for me was awesome. I loved it. I'm not just saying that because I'm here, on your show. It was always a highlight of the year for me as an adult. I was like, oh, I can't wait for Kids Choice. It was so much fun. It was so crazy.
And it's still going to this day.
Yeah. They do a great job with it, and it's just it's one of those things that I'm like, I couldn't imagine being a kid. Like, I'm this excited about it. I couldn't imagine being a kid going to Kids Choice Awards because it would just be sensory overload and like your head was going to explode.
And even with the pandemic, they've found pretty good ways to kind of make,
and also as well how long Kids Choice Awards has been through, like since the first year that happened, which is weird. Probably is a while ago.
Yeah.
And SpongeBob's won a lot.
Crazy.
Oh yeah, SpongeBob.
Yeah, a lot.
SpongeBob won so much. That
One, I think it only lost 1 year, and I think it lost to Avatar. I'm pretty sure.
Look
Yeah,
at Matt,
Avatar was
Matt
right
dropping the
there.
Nickelodeon knowledge.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Because I was looking up for something. I forgot what it was, but I was looking up for something. I probably expected if it was going to lose something, it'd probably be Avatar, because Avatar is really popular. So
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, that goes to show that SpongeBob is literally probably the most popular Nickelodeon shows ever.
it's like
Yeah.
basically the face of Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like, I'm kind of wondering what Nickelodeon would be without SpongeBob, without Tom Kenny.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a good question. It's been a rock solid show for all those years.
That
Yes.
really especially more generations to come for SpongeBob. And I know recently that SpongeBob are having the like a sequel that's kind of like related to Patrick or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Patrick Star
my
show.
daughter was telling me that the other day. She's like, "Hey, did you know that Patrick is getting his own show?" And I said, "No, I didn't. I'll have to call him and get to the bottom of this."
Just called Bill Faberbocky or whatever the guy's name is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember watching of course BrainSurge and SpongeBob is so much of shows for us.
Yeah.
Of course, same
Same
for
time, Carly.
three of us too. Oh, the three of you too.
I-
So, okay, this is kind of interesting question for mostly for BrainSurge fans. Well, of course, Chris and me too as well. I know there was going to be a pilot for BrainSurge, but that was never like aired. I feel like according to the BrainSurge theme song, it showed like a clip of just not the last round, and I feel like it was a different host or something that was on there or something.
There was. It's actually. Do you guys remember Teen Nick with Jay Boogie?
Yes.
So
Yes.
Jay Boogie,
Yeah.
who's a good friend of mine, Jay Boogie hosted the BrainSurge pilot.
So
Wow.
Yeah, so he did the pilot, and then when it went to series, they auditioned. Like I said, I did 3 auditions.
that's like the
And-
pilot where they like test stuff and
Probably that's
to get
why
the
it was
series,
never
like
aired.
greenlit, right?
Yeah, so the way a pilot works is if a network or someone's unsure if it's a concept that's going to work, but they like it, but they're just unsure if it's worth spending a ton of money on or going straight to series, they'll order 1 episode, and that's a pilot, and that's for you got they're like, here's a little bit of money to put together a pilot to show us that the game works, that the concept works, and in doing that, then they usually take that and test it with kids and have focus groups, and then they get the kids' input. And then if the kids really like it, that obviously helps Nickelodeon or whatever network it
That's why
is.
many Chris are fans to BrainSurge.
Exactly.
Yeah,
We did.
Well,
we
I think
did,
it's one of
we did
one of the most enjoyable Nickelodeon shows.
It is.
Yeah.
Or game shows specifically.
It's funny. I always get asked, like, "Hey, what happened to BrainSurge? Are they going to bring it back? Is there going to be another season?" And I always just tell people we locked the keys in the studio, and no one had a spare, so we can't get back in. The brain drain's still running. So
Would you be down for the BrainSurge revival if they asked you to come back for it?
they wouldn't even have to finish the sentence. I'd be like, I'm in. I would
So, yeah.
love to do.
I really enjoyed the show.
I would do that show again in a heartbeat. It was awesome. It's super fun. I
Maybe
feel like
fans
I'm in
for you.
mid-season form right now. I feel like I could tee it up real quick. Give me a few hours to knock the rust off. But
Or make
think
it
I
like
could-
a redemption one with the people who didn't make it.
Exactly. That would be fun, is go and get them all and tee them all back up again.
Yeah. So what is your favorite thing to do for BrainSurge? Because I feel like you really like all the rounds for it. BrainSurge.
Yeah. Let's see.
Especially the brain drain for sure.
Yeah, the round 1 was really fun, because it was all the puzzles. So I helped make a lot of those puzzles, and so watching kids seeing what they would get right and what they would get wrong was super awesome.
Mhm.
I did not particularly care for round 2 when I'd read the story from Jeff's Big Book, Super Fantastic
Yeah,
True Chronicles of Truth. They're absolutely true.
Yeah, opposite.
In season 1, I would read the story live. And
Right.
so I would have the story taped into the book. So I would open the book and I would read it live. In seasons 2 and 3, I would pre-record it because those became animated. And so I would have to record all the voices and stuff like that for that. But I do not, actually, I hate reading out loud. And so I get super nervous and it's like, and so whenever we got to that part in season 1, I was like, oh God, I hate this part because I got to read out loud. I hated reading out loud when I was a kid in class. I hate reading out loud to my kids now when I'm reading them a book. I just don't like reading out loud. And I know that seems weird for a person who's a TV host. And people always ask me like, well, how could you be in this business? I was like, I don't mind public speaking. I love public speaking. I will stand in front of anybody all day long who will listen to me blabber on. But when it comes to actually reading, I just don't like to do it out loud. So that was always a hard part for me. I think my favorite part, though, to answer your question, Jake, is the third, where we had the 4x4 floor, the 5x5, and the 6x6.
Yeah.
That was awesome because
especially getting slimed when they
exactly. And it was just one of those things that that felt new and different every single time because it was a different pattern. It was something new. And it's funny because when you guys watch it on TV, you're watching it from that high and wide jib shot. When you're and so you're like, oh, how could you mess that up? It's easy. It's right, left, straight, straight, right, left.
me and Chris have that moments too when we're watching.
Yeah, of course. And but the thing is when you are standing on the floor and it goes out away from you, it's a completely different view. And so you're kind of going like, oh God, over. And so now it does get a little more tricky. But I love that. And it's cool. Here's a little insider baseball for you. The floor, how it would expand out to a 5x5 and then a 6x6.
Right.
All that was they had behind the screen was like 3 guys and they would they all would push the floor out further. And they literally had spot on the ground because they're in the dark. So they didn't know, what it looked like out there. So they would just push until they got to that spot and stop it. And then they would go and push again and stop it. So it looks on stage this whole thing's on mechanical expanding. It was just 3 guys pushing this floor out.
I don't know what.
Sorry to shatter your childhood dreams.
The magic is ruined, Jeff.
Yeah, especially the second round where Jeff's big booger. That's absolutely 100% absolutely
positively true.
Yeah, positively true.
Yeah,
I know it's definitely a joke. I know that's definitely a joke.
There you go.
There you go. That's another one for you.
Yeah, there you go. That's my story, and it's all true.
Yeah, that's true indeed.
That was the one thing, as I say, I've collected all these things. Yeah. That was the one thing I wanted to take from BrainSurge was Jeff's big book of Super Fantastic True Chronicles of Truth that are absolutely true. However, the executive producer of the show, Scott, still has it. He has it in his office. I have tried on many of occasions when I'd go to his office, I'll be like, hey, can I just steal this? Or hey, why don't you look over there? And I'd be like, because that's the one thing that I really wanted, but I don't have it. Just the memories.
Because he's still a member. He's still a member, and he has still, but hopefully he can show it to you as just.
Yes, he told me I can come visit at any time, but like I said,
you just can't take it.
Exactly.
And
hopefully he can just show it at least.
Maybe one
day. Nostalgia reasons.
The knockout rounds were also cool.
Knockout round, yes.
Yeah, and that was always one of the things. I think this is what you're going to ask, Chris. What happens if they ran the board? Was that what you were going to ask?
No, I was going to ask if BrainSurge were to come back, would you like to see any changes, anything new, any new levels?
Yeah, I think here's my thing. I think for the show to come back, the contestants should be like you guys and your age.
Mhm.
You know, the,
Right.
kid,
Wow.
the kids who grew up on, like, let's bring, you know, the age group that grew up on it, let's have them be contestants, so then we can age it up. You know what I mean?
That's
like
crazy.
I would keep the same bones to the show, you know, like start off with the visual puzzles where you're going to see everything and then you just have to answer
Would you
questions on the
still
puzzle.
have celebs like Nickelodeon?
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, we could if it's on Nickelodeon. Why not? You know, but I
Put it
think
on
it's one of those
Paramount
things
Plus.
that, yeah, let's put it on
Carly's
Paramount
now
Plus.
on there. You gotta get back.
That
Yeah.
I know. I mean, they're bringing everything back, and yet I'm still sitting in my garage with my trigger, waiting to go.
You know, hopefully if they make a more,
With your tower.
Yeah,
You know,
my tower.
and who knows, maybe if they make a more grown-up version, maybe combine like the elements of 101 Ways to Leave a Game Show with BrainSurge. Really.
That'd be awesome.
The
That'd be
tower's
so
ready.
Here, all right, here
Thank
it
you
is.
for being part of those shows. Where we grow up with.
I'll dress up in my Pick Boy costume.
Yes.
We'll have a combination of 101 Ways, BrainSurge, and Figure It Out all into one show.
That would be
It'll-
perfect.
Round of applause
It'll
for
be
that.
Like,
That would
put
be
it on
amazing.
the
Definitely.
You guys will be the-
You still have it.
and then
Yes,
put on
I
the
do.
mask from Pick Boy.
Do you still have that
Yeah.
costume? Speaking
I got,
Uh,
and I got that right over there, hiding in the
Oh my
corner.
Do you
goodness.
still
Oh,
have the
that's
Pick Boy
awesome.
costume
Oh, wow.
or no?
I do. I actually have. I think I have like pieces because it changed over the years.
Yeah.
So I
That's
think
how
I
age
have
goes.
like, I think I have one from like every iteration, folded up, packed into a box, and stuffed into the back of the closet. But if duty calls, I'll,
Like
I'll
Superman.
get out of it.
Bring it
Yeah,
back.
Boy will come.
I got to get out. If someone needs help picking their groceries up, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
If someone
I
needs
know the
help picking
costume.
bingo balls, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Be
I-
14.
Yeah. I know the costume that I was for the shows changed because probably how old that I was. Or something.
Yeah, it didn't change. It didn't change drastically. The colors were always the same. The only things that really changed was like the P on the chest changed depending on like the font of the show. Like when they changed the show logo,
And
we
how
would
last it would
change.
be.
Yeah, so it would always match. Excuse me, I just burped right in all of your
Sorry.
faces.
BrainSurge, bro.
So like that changed, and then like over like in later years, like when we first started, no one knew
Yeah.
what Pick Boy was going to be. It was just going to kind of be like,
Right.
whatever, we'll do this. And so I was pretty
So-
much wearing like glorified pajamas.
Compare see it.
Yeah, and then
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, and then towards, you know, at the end, we actually had like a really nice one made that was, you know, made by like some really awesome costume designers that would do like Superman costumes for the movies and stuff like
Wow.
that. But
That's
that like
really
the last one, the cape was like super heavy, and it all it didn't just like clip around your neck. It
That'd
was
be
a whole like
uncomfortable.
it was a
to be
whole
honest.
harness that I had to wear, and then the costume went over the harness, so it looks like it comes up from like underneath the collar. And that thing, like, you know, it's, you ever see someone who breaks their collarbone and they have to wear that
Yeah.
crazy thing that keeps
Yeah.
them like this? Like
Yeah.
that's what it looked like. It was this whole big thing that like went down and like clipped around underneath, and it kept you like, oh my gosh, this thing's incredibly uncomfortable. And then the cape was so long, it came down to like
Did you ever like
my
step on
ankles. No, it never went down to the ground, but the most recent one is probably about that high off the ground. But it's
Oh,
just the
wow.
fabric they used is awesome, but it's really heavy. And so like at the end of the day of wearing that thing, you're like, oh my God.
You're like, did your back hurt after?
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah, it would. Because like I said, you'd have this thing on that was like kind of putting you're forcing a certain posture, and then you're carrying all that weight.
Yeah.
And then you got everything on top
Mhm.
of it, you know, and then usually too, they're, you know, clipping microphones and earpieces, and then you're all wired up. So
Yeah.
God help you if you had to go to the bathroom, because that wasn't happening.
Oh,
Oh yeah. I
Oh
can
my
imagine.
gosh.
it's very. It's not the.
These,
not the
yeah,
best.
these are things that none of you think about. These are
Mhm.
things that plague me as a part-time
Yeah.
superhero. I have to be aware. I have to know where's my nearest bathroom and how quickly can I get there.
Wasn't it? okay, you can correct us on this. Wasn't he supposed to have a sidekick? Because I saw something that he was or something. Like some kid was supposed to be a sidekick for the next thing.
Yes. So we did a sweepstakes.
Yeah, that's
the
what I'm
Pick
talking
Boy sidekick for the day. Yeah, it was in probably like 2003, I think.
Yeah.
You could enter a sweepstakes during Fairly Odd Parents Big Superhero Wish sweepstakes.
Yeah.
And a little girl from Florida won, and she got to come to New York and be on You Pick Live as Pick Boy's side pick
girl
for the day. And she
My pick reminds me of Henry Danger.
Yeah. That's the thing is like I talk to every once in a while. I'll talk to Cooper Barnes, who plays Captain Man.
Oh wow,
and I'm like,
that's cool.
Like,
that's awesome.
Hey, let's set the record straight, buddy.
I was the original.
I was there before you.
And what does he say?
No, he's good. It's fun.
I mean, because Henry Danger started before that show even still happened.
Yeah.
Probably, so that's why.
That's
what you said to him in the first place.
I'd be like, hey, look, I've spent my time in cape and tights on the network. I know all too well, and so we'll share war stories here and there. But
and he's still doing it today because he's on Danger Force. So
he's another guy that's just like super awesome, really cool guy.
Yeah,
and it's always cool to be able to meet people that are like that.
Yep.
I can imagine like if BrainSurge was still around and you guys did like another Nickelodeon Stars episode, like if he was like
or family BrainSurge.
Hey, look, I'll bring Captain Man on. I'll work him like a rented
in
mule.
the Captain Man costume,
or maybe Kid Danger.
And then Jackie, you need to wear your Pick Boy costume.
I agree, Jakey. Bring
and then have Pick Boy versus Captain Man
and Kid Danger. Pick Boy versus the two of them.
Two people.
I think we know who would win that.
No, or Pick Boy versus the toddler. That'd be funny.
Yeah.
Versus who?
The toddler is a villain.
Toddler versus Kid Danger, Captain Man, or the two sidekicks of your show, and versus Captain Man and Kid Danger. I'm so glad we just talk about Henry Danger, because Henry Danger is such a nostalgia show for most of us that grew up with the show. So, is it like the pilot for the show that's really? It's kind of like the same. The only thing is just tested for the whole to see what the series was going to be, what they're sure about, and the different host that was originally for the pilot.
No, sometimes things change. Like you figure what works well on paper when you actually shoot it, all of a sudden you're like, oh wow, that's flawed and that needs to change. Even when I shot the first episode of BrainSurge, there was a section in the show that after we shot the first episode, we're like, that whole section doesn't work, get rid of it.
Wow.
And we cut that out. And that episode was never seen. So it's you learn a lot. That's another big part of it for the production when you're doing a pilot, is you learn what works, what doesn't. Oh, that feels clunky. Wow, that really works. Let's do more of that. And so it's a good learning experience for everybody.
Yep. So how does it feel, since we mentioned this, how does it feel? I'm not trying to make this a little, of course, well, I can say it right now. How does it feel for being a actual dad?
Yeah,
I love it. It's there's nothing I've ever worked harder at in my life than being a dad. It's
congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Right.
It's thank you. It's the thing that I'm most proud of too. I mean, I've been very fortunate in my career and life to have some amazing experiences, but having my kids and being a dad is fantastic. It's a way for me to stay immature and young. And it's great that like I get to continue doing the Nickelodeon stuff for them, because they get to see what I do, and they get to come to work with me, and they get to see like, oh, that I like doing what I do, and work doesn't have to be.
And that dad works at Nickelodeon, and he's the cool dad.
Yeah, and like my daughter was born right when we started season 2 of BrainSurge, so she doesn't really remember any of BrainSurge. She vaguely remembers Figure It Out. So she discovered me while Googling my name. It was like, oh my gosh, look at all this stuff you did. So she started watching like old episodes of BrainSurge and stuff like that. So like that was cool. Like I never was like, here, sit down and watch this. Hey, I did this. I never showed her, my son Morgan is like 7 now. I think he's aware that I've done stuff. I don't think he's ever watched anything that I've done, but he knows, hey, I work on Nickelodeon, and that's, it gets me cool dad points for sure.
Yeah.
They didn't put it on Paramount Plus. I mean, they have the other stuff on.
Yes.
Yeah, hopefully we get to see, something like BrainSurge on Paramount Plus.
Or you pick. Or
Yeah, you pick.
Yeah.
Or
So,
you can figure
I'm
it
down.
out.
I'm ready. I'm
Awesome.
down. I'm up for anything. If someone wants to give me a mic and a room full of people that'll tolerate my voice.
Yeah.
Heck, they could bring it back, or bring back Legends of the Hidden Temple of Adults, or why not bring back BrainSurge?
Yeah,
Right.
it's the same team. Scott, who's the creator producer of Legends of the Hidden Temple, is also one of the creators producers of BrainSurge. So,
Never knew that.
yep, there you go.
Yep. So
They made a movie of that. Make a BrainSurge movie. Come on.
BrainSurge the movie.
Yeah, they did.
oh my
Legends of the
gosh,
Hidden
that'd be
Temple and BrainSurge movie.
interesting. At the same time, I don't know if it'd be good because
I don't think it works as well as Legends of the Hidden
Yeah.
Temple.
yeah, to be honest.
Like maybe
I gotta agree with Matt.
Yeah.
like maybe how like if it were to be a movie, like maybe the plot would be like Jeff runs out of slime, so he has to go like some like
Grand
Just-
adventure.
weird,
Yeah.
crazy location to get like the stuff to make more slime.
And I've got to solve real life puzzles along the way to collect
Yes.
everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
All while avoiding going down the brain drain every step of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just make one step and you put it on the brain drain.
And the farting chairs getting you out of there.
Yep.
It
So-
writes itself.
How's it feel for right now that you're working on with Wyatt's Mystery Playdate?
It's great. I love Ryan's Mystery Playdate. I love working for Nickelodeon. It's me using my
Right.
immaturity to everybody else's advantage.
Yep. To yourself.
Yeah, and so it's I have had an awesome time working at Nickelodeon for all these years, and as long as they want to have me around, I'm more than happy to continue infecting the youth with my sense of humor. And working with
Mhm.
Ryan and his family is fantastic. And everyone, Pocket Watch is the production company that I work for, and those guys are fantastic. And they, I really give credit to I think my entire team. I think my biggest contribution to that show is that I hire a bunch of people who are smarter and better than me. So we get to do a lot of really fun things, and Ryan is great. And his family is fantastic, and they just come every day ready to play.
Mhm.
And that's
And
a
you
lot
work
of
with
a
Phil
lot of
Morse
what I get to work with Phil. A lot of the stuff that I learned and did on like UPick and BrainSurge and figured out, I take all the little pieces from all my other shows and say like, oh, I liked how we did this, or I really liked working with this person, or I like the way we put this together, and I bring all that together, and that's how we put together Ryan's Mystery Playdate. And I think if you watch Ryan's Mystery Playdate, it's a Nick Jr. show, so I can't imagine any of you are watching it. But if you did, you
I'll
would
give
look
it
at
a
it and go,
watch.
Yeah, me too.
I think
Super
you'll
Bronze
look at
was
it.
on
Yeah, and especially in the season 4, we started doing a bunch of puzzles where Ryan plays visual puzzles. These are all straight ripoffs from BrainSurge puzzles. I just me and my buddy Tim sat down. We're like, okay, let's have Ryan do puzzles. What kind of puzzles? Well, let's do the BrainSurge puzzles. And so we'll just rework them and put them all in. So you guys, like I said, you'll go through it. You'll watch. People who know me and know the show go, oh, that's very much your sense of humor. Oh, that's very much like I can see you in the show. So it's a chance, like I'm not on camera, but it's a chance for me to still do all the things that I would want to do. I just make other people do them. I'm like, hey, Ryan, say this. And he's like, I don't get it. I'm like, just say it. It'll be funny.
Right. Like you get to do all the stuff that you've done for years, but in a slightly different way.
Exactly. So
We worked for littler kids.
exactly.
Yeah,
And, hey,
much
look,
younger
that's what
demographic.
Especially like for your family too, because you know how much
Yeah.
you have kids. And, you
Yeah,
know,
you can have them on it.
I hope your family's
that's
doing. Hope your
perfect.
family's doing well. By the way,
Thank you. I appreciate that. They're doing great. And that's been the nice thing
That's
about,
awesome. You're welcome.
doing Ryan's as well, is that, my
It's-
my son
like
was,
that, like your real life
Yeah.
family.
was younger. And so he would, they'd come to the show and help test the games and test the puzzles and stuff like that.
Oh, I
So
bet that was fun.
I got my own in-house focus group. So
Yeah. before we're about to wrap up, well, unless if you want to say something, Wyatt, since I think you're trying to say something.
Yeah.
Jeff.
What is your favorite slime when I figure it out? Because I know there was one where the kid got up and ran from the set or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's
That was
on YouTube.
that not only is
Very
my
funny.
favorite moment on Figure It Out, that might be my favorite moment on camera.
Wait, what happened?
So we were doing Figure It Out, and we had this little kid who was a circus performer, and he was 6 years old, and he did his talent was he could lay on a bed of nails while holding a brick on his stomach.
Wow.
Dear God.
And yeah, and I feel like I can't remember his name.
Brennan, I think.
Brennan, yes.
Yeah.
And so he, if the panel guessed the secret slime action or the secret slime word, the Brennan would get slimed. And
Yeah, but
so,
he was running.
right.
Sarah
So
Bravo guessed it.
Until you
we
grabbed him.
were in like the final few seconds, and there's only like 2 words. There's like 1 word left or something like that.
Hmm.
And the person guesses the word, and he put 2 and 2 together that, oh man, if they get that word, I'm gonna get slimed. And he decided at that very moment he did not want to get slimed. So
See ya, bye.
Yeah, it's on
in-
YouTube.
in a split second, as the clock is down, like 3, 2, 1, on 1, Sierra Bravo guesses the word, it lights up, and the slime starts coming down. He spins around out of his stool and takes off, like runs off the set. And I was like,
What the heck?
and
Where
as slime
did
is
he
like
go?
pouring down, I was like, what the
Yeah.
heck just happened? And I look over, he's standing down like 10 feet away from me, being like, ha ha ha. And I was like, uh-uh. So I just like, and again, it hit me. I was just like, no, you can't.
gosh.
Like, this is my show. You got to get slimed.
So what
Oh,
happened?
Yeah.
So I took off and I started running after him, and he starts doing like and he takes off and he goes to like the sidewall, which is just a curtain. It's not even
Yeah.
part of the set. Like, you don't even look
Yeah.
at it. And he's like,
all
trying,
black.
he's trying to
Curtain behind
find
the
like the opening in the curtain, and he finds it and ducks down the curtain. He's now backstage. We are literally backstage, where there's like cables and just stuff all over the place.
Did this part air on the show?
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Well, yeah, so it's on YouTube. So then I point to the camera guy, and I'm like, let's go. And I open the curtain and I take off down backstage. Like, I'm running down a fire.
We don't
lane.
care. Just
I'm like-
film it. Grabs it so he can
And
slime.
I grab Brendan and I like carry him back out and like, back out into the place is going wild at that point. And I walk over and I'm like, boom, and I put him in the seat and I just hold and I look over at the guy who does the slime. He's got his finger on the button. I go, like, hit it. And he's like, wham, and he just gets completely covered. But it was like such a great moment because it was not planned. Everything was spontaneous. And it was just one of these things that like ended up happening, and everybody was quick to mobilize. When I pointed at the camera, I'm like, come on. And like everyone took off, and it ended up being this really cool moment. It is on YouTube. It's
Yeah,
worth
that's
taking
on
it's worth taking a look. It's like I
I
said, not only my favorite.
I've seen that too.
I have to have a look at
Oh, no.
once you wrap up.
Yeah,
Mhm.
show it to Chris and Matthews. It's fun.
Yeah. So, since we're wrapping up, where is it? Can anyone find you on social media?
Yeah, I don't spend a ton of time on social media, but I do. My Instagram account is at 1380.
Yep.
That's
Yep. And if you guys want to, of course, want to follow Jeff, it'll be in the description below anyway. So.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we're also, me and my buddy Tim have also started another Instagram account just recently, like last week or
Oh,
so,
wow.
called Lucky Purple Comb.
Hope it can be well as
Yeah,
be well as
Check it.
always.
check out a Lucky Purple Comb.
All right.
It's the
As
luckiest
well
comb,
as
luckiest
other
comb on the
social media.
market.
Down below too.
Yeah, but we'll put the links down below.
Yes.
And I know you originally like made a YouTube channel, but your
Yeah.
YouTube channel wasn't really. You don't really like upload videos on there anymore or something.
Yeah, to be honest, I really don't know what I'm doing. No,
Well, except
it
for
was-
the
it was
performance
one of those
wheel,
things-
which one
Thank
does.
you. Yeah,
public
I
videos.
enjoy doing, making my own videos. I got tons of ideas. what ends up happening is I go, oh, like I do this, and I'll shoot it, and then I'm like, oh, I got to edit it, and I have to do all this stuff myself, which is fine. I'm not opposed to doing that, but what ends up happening is life gets in the way, whether it's, hey, my kids need something, or I got to do school pickups, drop-offs, plus work. It becomes very hard to
Very understandable why you
very hard to manage
anymore.
all this, which is why like I think what you guys do is amazing, because you guys make time for it and get it out there, and it's fantastic.
It's a hustle. It's a hustle to find times for interviews and like find when we're all available. But we're able to do it, and it's great.
Yeah,
we're happy to do it.
And you have Phil Moore and Kirk Frog on.
Yeah.
Which we hope. I hope to have
one.
Yeah. Of course, guys. If you guys, of course, watching this part, if you guys want to subscribe to his YouTube channel anyway, even though he doesn't follow it, doesn't really do it videos anymore. But if you guys want to check his content and all, his channel actually has really cool content, especially performance wheel video, and as well.
There's a ton of BrainSurge episodes on YouTube too.
Oh yeah, I as well. All those what I just mentioned just now is in the description below. But anyway, since we're just social media and YouTube, whatever, blah 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 blah. I'm thinking it's time for
anything you want to say before we go?
For me, guys, it's been awesome getting to be on your show. Thank you guys so much for reaching out and having me on. It's fantastic to talk to true fans who know so much about what I've done. It means a lot to me to know that something I did meant so much to you guys. So thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, nope, we're all
gonna have to come back. I'll get you more.
And we've got some very exciting guests coming up after this. So stay tuned.
The people who knows the show, you probably can be very happy about.
We probably have at least around 8 to 10 like different people who are interested in being on.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've got a lot.
We're on right now. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you see out for more episodes, and we appreciate support. But for now, thank you so much for being here, Jeff, and you're a great person, and you're one of the funnest people that's on the show so far. And can we have a show again soon? Who knows? And can we watch?
Thank you for having me
in the future. You're welcome.
Awesome.
But since this is a wrap up and fall moments, there's only one way out of here.
Yes.
Down the brain.
Only one way out of here, and that's down the brain drain.
Anyways, from all of us, me, Matthew, Chris, all of us, and Jeff, thank you so much, and see you next time for more. See ya, and bye-bye.
See you next time for another episode of Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, Season 2. Bye-bye.